Hello hero, this is my 50th take. I'm Lucy Lannon. I had a bit of time away for a family bereavement, so I'm sorry if you wanted to book with me during that time or you were looking for me on the channel. If you are a subscriber, hopefully you got the memo, which was in the community tab. If you didn't, click the bell so that you can remain updated. But because I have been away, I'm going to come back with full force, which means that we're doing Youtober. So expect some kind of reading from me for every day throughout October. I'm going to do 31 readings, probably a lot more than 31 because some of them will be pick-a-piles or colour readings and that kind of thing. Things to expect: we will do love transmissions like this one in multiples. We will do the normal lunar readings that we do on the channel starting with the new moon mid-month. We will also do the colour readings that we do, the A to Z lucky dips that we do, which are just kind of based on a random word, and anything that you guys comment that you really want a reading on, I will consider for pick-a-piles either this month or next month. So do let me know if there's something specific you want to cover, but you can expect love, money, friendships, family stuff, drama, no drama, spirituality, Jedis, just the normal kind of stuff we do on the channel, to be quite honest. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting back in the game. Without further ado, love transmission stuff. If you weren't here for Love Transmission 7, I've changed it slightly in that, yes, they'll come one a month, more in October. Yes, they will be sort of whatever I get, whatever the cards want to tell me, but from the last one onwards, we're going to do a separate section for singles and for couples. If you are in a situationship or something which is a bit ambiguous in between the two, then there might be something for you in both piles, or you might want to look on the love playlist, all the playlists on my main page, by the way, and just see whether you feel drawn to a singles in one pile, a couples in the other, and the combination of those two things might describe your situationship exactly. Alternatively, you can just watch one or the other, that's fine by me, but it's basically designed so that everybody's covered properly, because I kind of didn't enjoy doing the love readings where we were just talking very generally about relationships, and I had to cover people who are married with babies alongside people who've had a one-night stand with someone and wondered what they thought. You know what I mean? It's a bit of a broad scope for me, and I like to be as specific as possible on this channel. So today we will be using the Aquarian Tarot, and we're going to have pile 1 as singles, pile 2 as couples, both using the same deck, both doing the same kinds of... I'll see you at your pile because we're ready. I'm going to take... Crikey! I'm going to take these for the singles pile, and this one that just flipped, and actually it turned the other way when it flipped. But first, I need to tell you something, singles. I've been channeling song for you all day, which I hate doing because it basically means that I get an earworm of 2 or 3 lines for hours. Most often happens with my paid readings, but hey ho. So you got John Martin, Couldn't Love You More. And the lines that I got out of that, which I'm not going to sing because throat's a little raggedy, something like, if you took the sun out of the sky for me, if you told me all the lies I don't deserve, if you laid out in the rain for me, it might be slightly different to that. I could not love you more. Several different interpretations of this. If you took the sun out of the sky for me, so your person may be signified by the sun card, you may be a Leo, they may have strong Leo placements, or it could be something to do with the sun as a signifier in this reading. Also, took the sun out of the sky for me reminds me of the bit in Scott Pilgrim where Aubrey Plaza's character says something and everything goes dark round her and it's like, wah! So the sort of dualistic meaning of that is that either something recently was said which made you see a very different side of this person and you were like, holy, I didn't know you could be that. Or there's something you want to express that you're afraid would kind of do that. But there's something, it may even be a weather change on your last date. You know, like it's the time of the year here anyway, where you kind of get just clouds passing over and then suddenly it can go very dark and then very bright again because the UK is that. So there may be something like that about it, in which case that's confirmation that this is your pile. But really, it feels more like a revelatory thing. So getting into the next line, if you told me all the lies I don't deserve, or you don't deserve, I can't remember exactly what he says. My feeling on this is that there is some kind of truth which needs to be told, that you have held back, or they have held back, out of kindness. More specifically, I get the sense that, how do I say this? Excuse me, having a lippy problem. That's a little bit weird, isn't it, when we're talking about expression? You Ahsoka shade, by the way. Anyway, God, I look like a dork, I'm sorry. Okay, my feeling is that you know something that you shouldn't know, or that they didn't tell you. And they know you know, but they want it to come from you, or vice versa. That's a little bit complicated, but that is exactly what I'm getting. The thing that came into my kind of feeling space was a situation that I've been in where I know some of the reasons for some moves that have been made socially, and the person doesn't officially know that I know. And if I was to tell them that I know, it would be a little bit taboo, or it would be a little bit like, but how do you know that? Or how dare you? Or, you know, but they know that I know, you know? I hope that's making sense, but there's some kind of thing here, which is, it's not a lie, it's not proper subterfuge, it's like a lie by omission, and it's been held back specifically because it's kinder to do that. So I don't know whether it's something that you haven't told them, in which case there is a kind of pull here for you to be upfront about what you know, and about the fact that you know more than maybe you should on paper, let's say. Or whether it's sort of at the other end, where you've been not trying to hide something, but you've been leaving something out which you feel a bit ashamed about, or a bit weird about, or like it might come between you, and they know, but you need to know that they know before you can really speak about anything. I really hope that that's clarity. My God. Then the last bit was, if you laid out all night in the rain for me, or something like that. That makes me think of big romantic gesture. It makes me also think of the bit in High Fidelity where John Cusack is stood below Catherine Zeta-Jones's window and she's with a different partner, and he's in the pouring rain and he screams up to the window, "Hey Charlie, you bitch, let's work it out." So it's like at once very sweet that he's there in the rain for her, but it's also a bit sort of heart-wrenching because, you know, of the situation, and there's a little resentment in there. So I feel like there's maybe a situation where you're hoping for romantic gesture, reconciliation, or you're hoping to give these things, or you're feeling more in that climate, we'll see. But there's like an undercurrent of like, yeah, but you're a dick though. Our first cards are the Knight of Swords, the Page of Wands. I'm hoping these actually appear on camera because I'm just kind of new setup. And the Six of Cups in reverse. So this is somebody maybe saying too much, rushing in with new information, certainly. Page of Wands tends to be quite creative in the way that they express themselves. So again, romantic gesture. Six of Cups reverse makes me think of like false nostalgia. It makes me think of reflecting over the relationship and saying, were the memories really that good? Is it worth it? And I don't know whether that's from you or from them. So let's see. Now we've finally done our preamble. I'm just going to flip some of these so that we get reversals as well, because reversals are not bad, my dudes. They're just another 78 meanings. In fact, there are some cards that you would be better to get in reverse. So is this you or them coming in with this? Rather than answering whether it's you or them, I got an Ace of Wands and a Three of Swords. It's not really an offer, it's not really a heartbreak either. Certainly there's no sexual component to this because the Ace of Wands in reverse, so they're not going to hit you up with a you up, and vice versa. I imagine that if there's that much kind of complexity around expression with this, you're not looking to leap in sexually to something that you possibly can't handle beyond a meeting for further negotiations, shall we say. But then with the Three of Swords reverse, it's like their voice is coming in to say, I'm not going to break your heart, I'm not going to damage you, I'm just also not offering a rejuvenation or a sexual thing or whatever. It's almost like, to go back to that high fidelity analogy, it's as if Charlie did come downstairs and she was willing to talk, but she wasn't willing to get back together. And I don't mean to trigger anyone with that, because I'm not saying your partner doesn't want to, or your potential partner doesn't want to be with you. But it's a feeling like there's somebody that you're already... That's interesting, because this is a singles reading and I've been talking like you're in a situationship. And I didn't know it until just now. But whoever you're connected with, shall we say, it's like they want to talk, but I'm not sure that they want like the big dream beyond that. They might want the talk to be romantic. They might want it to be very expressive with so much swords and rods, and heartfelt, and maybe even creative in the way that it happens. Certainly they want to impress you, is what I'm hearing. But it's like they don't... It's like they don't want a resolution. Or they want... Now, reconciliation without resolution. No, it's not that they don't want a resolution. It's that they want to speak about something with you, but they don't want to face the consequences of the conversations that may follow that one. So if there is something that's been held back or lied about, or something between you and a crush, or you and someone you've been like this with, there's something here like where they want to clear up the lying bit, and they want to have a chat, and they might even want to be sweet with you. But I think beyond that, they're a little bit scared of breaking your heart. Now, will they? No. No, they're not going to. Because you're quite savvy. I'm looking at something in the background that you can't see, and the numbers on it are adding up to a numerology which says like, no, you're going to be okay. You're quite Nine of Pentacles energy. I think maybe even you've been in this position with somebody before where they haven't been very expressive, or they've lied by omission about something, or you've been put in a position where you had to, and you've survived. You're okay. But it's like there is this pull from the universe to talk about it. There is this need, or I wouldn't have had the John Martin song. Also, let me add that it's like, it's baby making music. Like, it's quite a, I think it sounds 80s. I think it came out in 77, but it's very like, there's literally a bit in it that goes, bow, 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 bow. It's very sort of, ooh. So there is that vibe, but then with this Ace of Wands in reverse, it's like the pull is there, but the action is not able to be taken. And I don't know whether that's your boundary or theirs. Let's see what these two are, because they've been waiting long enough. Five of Swords reverse, so there's not going to be a conflict here. There's also not competition. If you were wondering about a third party situation, something like that, I get the sense that even if this person is sort of peripherally involved with somebody, they're not going to put you in competition with that person. Because the Five of Swords in the upright for me would be where you're interested in somebody to the extent that they put you in a dynamic with somebody else, whether it's just liking them on Insta, or whether it's a full-fledged thing of they're dating both of you, right? So there's a thing that whoever it is that's coming in for you, or whoever you're keen on, they're not going to make you do that, even if they have in the past, is what I'm hearing. And the Nine of Wands is like, partly because they know you're hurt. Let's go a bit faster with this. Nine of Swords. So are they, but in a different way, right? You're hurt about whatever this omission was, whatever this kind of weird situation was. Yours is kind of a like feeling wounded, maybe even from stuff before you met them, or from kind of, I want to say like peripheral trauma. Whereas their thing about this is anxiety directly related to the situation. I dare say they're losing sleep over it. There's also, like, I'm noticing that in this deck, there isn't the astrological stuff that you normally see on a Nine of Swords in a Smith-Waite based deck. So that's telling me that there's no form of guidance for them I think they want to ask some people that they know about you, but those are the exact people that would put this situation into ruin. Or maybe it's that they don't have people around them who are good at relationships, or they don't have suitable mentors, or it's like they want to go to somebody to ask advice on how to handle this now it's got so fogged. And what's happening is that they're realizing that the people around them aren't necessarily that solid for that stuff. Or this could be you, actually. This could be why you're coming to me, right? This could be, I need guidance on this, but I don't really have a source of guidance whose relationships are functioning well in the aspirational way that I want this to go. That doesn't mean it has to be a really close connection. For some of you, it's casual. But I think that the nature of it needs to be elevated above either your group of friends or their group of friends in some way. It may also be that although you clearly have some belief, if you're here, I don't know that they do. Or if they do, they feel perhaps disconnected from it at the moment. And it's like, if they're a praying kind of person or a magical kind of person, they might feel that they can no longer operate in that sector in order to see how to handle this. And again, all of this is very heavy for a crush. So I apologize if you are coming to me for a crush reading. This feels like it's been going on a little bit longer. And if it hasn't, it speaks to the seriousness of this person. They make me think of, I'm going to get his name wrong now. I've been watching, I hate admitting this, but someone made me do it. But I've been watching the Netflix, what's it called? Is She the Wolf? Not sponsored remotely. I don't watch reality TV. But it makes me think of, is it Tomoki or the younger kid anyway? I said kid. How old do I sound? But the guy with the curtains that's really sort of sincere and comes into relationships very gradually. There's a sincerity to him in that series which broke my heart and rejuvenated it all at once. And I think that this person has that kind of a vibe, or they share something with him in terms of like appearance or style, or like the way that this person goes about relationships. There's a withdrawn quality, but it's not withdrawn in a shy way. It's like a holding back out of integrity. So I think going to speak about this dynamic with anybody in their life might be quite difficult for this person. Whether that's because of a personal pride thing, or whether it's because they just don't believe that relationships should be discussed in that kind of an open way. Which, bless their heart, if you do end up with this person, that's a lovely quality. Like, having been on the other end of very much pillow talking to everybody about whatever was very private, I think there's something to be said for that slow approach, and that approach of like, I'm not really going to discuss this unless I know I'm discussing it with somebody with an equal sense of responsibility. There's a gravity to this person that I really enjoy, whether or not they're quite young. You could be quite young, I don't know. Please be over 18 if you're on the channel. But yeah, there's something to that. I seem to be channeling more than cards, I do apologise. King of Swords in reverse. They are not the master of their personal expression at the moment. We've established this. Lovers in reverse. So again, they are trying to emphasise through me. They are not making a choice between you and somebody else. I feel that maybe some of this communication hasn't happened because you feel that you've been pitted against somebody that they are more interested in. And I want to tell you, my dude, that couldn't be further from the truth. Even if there are people around them peripherally, I get the feeling that there are a few people interested in this person, but they're not really looking that way. Certainly with that last kind of nod, I think they're a person of enough integrity that they wouldn't be entertaining several parties or breadcrumbing or anything like that. I think they're trying to tell me so that I can tell you that it's not, that you don't need to feel like you're competing with something unseen, particularly if this omission is to do with somebody else. I feel like they want you to know that it's not a thing, or there's not anything that should make you feel like you can't express yourself, is what I want to say. With the King of Swords in reverse as well, it can be quite like, This person could be a bit snippy, maybe even about a former relationship, and that could be to do with what's happening here. There's certainly like a sexual defensiveness here that implies that they haven't had the best time around, do we want to go there? Around consent, around people being honest about what it is they want when they take certain levels of energy from this person versus what this person gives and what they think they're getting in return. That's not to make relationships transactional, but you and I both know that there are some relationships where what is advertised doesn't end up being the thing that happens. And I think that whoever you're interested in right now, whether they've ever spoken about it or not, whether you've got wind of it or not, there's been some kind of dynamic with them around sexually giving and receiving. I'm hearing minus. And then I'm seeing Godzilla -1. So it's like they're giving stuff and they're getting minus numbers in return. They're getting stuff actively taken away from them. It's not just that they're giving to relationships and they're not receiving. It's worse than that. It's that they're in a worse position than they were. Wow. Hard. Give them credit. Yeah, they seem lovely. I like this energy. And I know I say that a lot about people I read for, but this is a much gentler scope than I normally get. I like vibrant people. I like vivacious people. I speak a lot in readings about bombastic, very attractive, very intelligent and interesting people. And I say that I like them because of that. And this may apply to your person, but the real thing that I'm getting here is that they are a gentle soul. Their heart is in the correct place. And that's really unusual, okay? So even if there's been some misunderstanding between you guys, maybe stick with it. Maybe just see what the real circumstances are. Page of Pentacles. And to finish, 5 of Pentacles. They feel that if they offered you anything at the moment, it would be, what's the word? Insufficient, right? And that could be, again, from their preconceptions. My personal experience is that quite often people who have this dignified, very reserved, not defensive, but very sort of measured way of conducting themselves, fairly often also have imposter syndrome or feelings that they need to be extra kind because they're not always somebody's ideal, and maybe being good is the way that they compete within like the love market. Now hearing filmmaker. And again, not to like make it all a capitalist thing where we make love transactional, but some people, when they don't feel fully, when they've been taught not to feel adequate, particularly by the relationships they've been in or the sexual dynamics, they might not express in a way that's nearly as confident, and therefore they feel they can't just go about things in the ordinary way. The image I'm getting for this is like a person who would feel uncomfortable on a dating app, for instance, because they don't have like the initial charisma or the physical trappings or something like that, because they are a bit sort of afraid of putting themselves out there. But then when you get to know them, they're just angelic. They're just bloody lovely. And I think it would be a shame to pass up on that. I'm wanting to pick one more card. To pass up on that because they don't feel quite as initially forthcoming. And I say forthcoming rather than confident because, again, this could involve leaving things out in a way that's pissed you off. And if it has, I want to say that this person, their heart was in the right place. And again, going back to when we first got that channeled song, the thing that they were holding back with, it was because it was the right thing to do. It wasn't because they wanted to lie. It wasn't because it was convenient to leave a bunch of shit out. It was because maybe even until they knew where they were at with something, it was kinder. We're ending on the devil in reverse. Resist the temptation. well, resist. Yeah, that could be it, actually. That could be the closing sentence, is just resist the temptation. But what I want to say more than that is resist the temptation to blow up at this person if you find out more detail about stuff you didn't know. Resist the temptation, if you're on the flip side of that particular coin, to imagine that this person will blow up on you because you perceive them as operating differently, because I think maybe you're not as different as you think. But then beyond that resist temptation thing, there's something talking here about somebody breaking an addiction, or somebody stepping out of a more sexual mode into a more, trying not to use misogynist language like pure, but that's what it feels like almost. Excuse me, hiccups confirmation. I don't know whether it's you or them, but there's somebody here who has been in a hoe phase who is transferring into conducting themselves very differently to that. And that might be part of the difficulty of this situation. That might be why it's so hard to communicate accurately, because whoever it is doesn't necessarily want to express that that was their past when they're so interested in living in their present, and their present is different. Again, I don't know whether your person is an affirmer or a manifester, but it almost makes me think of like when you're in that mode of act as if, and you're affirming for the person you want to be instead of the person that you are, and things sort of accelerate so quickly into that mode that you're suddenly completely different. And in doing that, you may leave some people behind. You may have to change some things like location or job or whatever in order to fit this new self, because it was like your intent was there and then bam, the result was there. And I think either you or them has gone through that kind of a transformation, but that means that the peripheral elements of the way that you used to be look to the other person a little sus. And I don't mean to say either that being hypersexual is sus necessarily. I've done it. But I think there is a gear shift for someone here. I suspect it's them. And that is making it really difficult to come to some kind of honest communication, because how do you tell somebody the truth about the present when the past makes it seem so unlikely? I hope that was useful for you. If you do want to book with me, like I say, the shop will be open from the 22nd of October 2023. Link down below. If you want to offer me a coffee or something in the meantime, PayPal links down below. If not, please like, please subscribe, please ding the dong, share with whoever. Thank you kindly, and I hope to see you through the rest of October. Couples! Woo! Higher energy already. Let's have a neb. We're starting with an emperor. Let's see whether that's you or them, eh? I get good vibes with the emperor in this deck, but the emperor is not always a good vibes thing. Knight of Wands in reverse. Right, okay, so that's telling me to mediate my expectations of that energy. So this is somebody very in control of their environment, very organised, very detail-oriented, I want to say. Then we've got a full reversed. Weird one to get with that. And a King of Cups reversed. All right. So somebody in this couple or relationship or polycule or whatever it is that you want to do, who is in charge of themselves right now. And let me just spread that out a little bit. They might have been somebody who rushed in a way that was seen as sexually hasty, or just impulsive in general, or like socially a bit much, a bit obnoxious, a bit like, I'm here, don't worry guys, in that sort of cringy kind of way. And they've come right out of that and into like big boss energy. And again, any gender, and this could be you, it could be them. The other person in this dynamic is sort of almost going into where the other one was, where with the Fool in reverse, there's like a riskiness. There's a definite risk of being perceived as mad by the outside world for something that's happening, for the kinds of steps that you're taking or they're taking. And with the King of Cups in reverse, it's like there's no control over emotions. And that's to do with it, right? That's linked to the whole shift. I think that this Fool person, let's call them the Fool and the Emperor just to keep track, right? I know they're both male and not all of you are gay, but let's just say one is one energy, one's the other, because we really don't do genders on this channel, it's just cards, right? But this Fool person, I think, has had an emotional stop-start. You may even be drawn to the previous love transmission where we did the Twin Peaks deck, because I think the couples reading of that had like a sudden revelation brought in by like being around family or being around a third element that wasn't a third party, like just a life element that put the whole thing into a new perspective in a kind of zooming out Inland Empire or Bandersnatch type way. So you might be into that, but it's okay if you're not. But there's this sense that like there is some circumstance within which one of you couldn't keep your emotions in anymore. And I don't mean that in like, oh, uncontrollable, horrible. It's just that like maybe this person is usually very measured. King of Cups is quite stoic energy. It's emotionally expressive, but in a controlled fashion, right? So it's steady waters, right? Water being emotion. You can think of it as sometimes like a trickle of something happening, sometimes a lake, sometimes a tsunami even. There's all kinds of ways that we express how much we're feeling and how in control of that feeling we are. And for this, I feel that they were a still water person, and now the waves are getting a bit choppy, and maybe risks are being taken that weren't entirely advisable, or things are being done on an emotional whim that are a bit like, really, dude? And again, if this is you, I don't want to offend you, but there's some kind of like, I'm hearing Faith No More midlife crisis in my head. So there's some like, I feel ways about stuff. I'm going to buy a car. Kind of a vibe. I'm now hearing Limp Bizkit dad vibes as well, so that could be a thing. In the sense of like how Fred Durst turned from like what I'm sure he thought was cool into this handlebar stash wearing barbecue dad, and he just wrote songs about riding in on a tractor. Like, more power to you, whether that's you or your partner. But it's that shift in like, you know what, this was a lot and I don't really give a fuck anymore. Oh, backtrack, what was there was something else with that. Midlife crisis, then we had Fred Durst. What was the in-between bit? Come on. Oh yeah, that was it. I was gonna share with you in confessional, in case it is you, that during the time away that I had, that I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I was waiting for a loved one that I'm very, very close to pass away, in a situation where I wasn't able to see them through no fault of my own and a lot of Machiavellian bullshit. But in order to get through that extremely trying time, particularly when I couldn't really turn to people because it was a neither thing. Like, they weren't here, they weren't gone. I knew they were going to go. I had plants dying that belonged to them, things like that. But there was this thing of like, I can't really express this because it's not like I can say I've lost so-and-so. It's not even really like I can say, oh, they're ill and they'll never recover, because they might, but I knew they wouldn't. And anyway, long story short, sorry. I bought a lightsaber in the middle of the night, and now I do lightsaber tricks. And I'm going to join, there's like a local working men's club where they do the 7 different fighting styles in a function room, and I'm looking to join there, but like only after I've gotten really good at my Obiani, you know. So that it's like that sort of thing. And I want to say that if that's you, I see you. And also, side note, if this is you and you've had a big emotional stop-start and it's made you feel completely out of control and stuff, maybe a good way to channel that is to purchase a lightsaber on the internet and start doing spins with it in your bedroom whenever you get a minute. And I don't care if you're married and if you have a family and if you have a respectable day job. It's things like that that possibly you need, or possibly this person needs. Maybe the reason that I'm telling you that story as well is that if this isn't you, this is somebody you need to have a bit of patience with and a bit of humour about. Maybe rather than laughing at them, you could laugh along with them, because their coping mechanism is valid. And I don't even really want to call it a coping mechanism, because that feels a bit like, oh, little you and your coping mechanism, your silly saber. You know what I mean? It's not like that. It's more like, if this person needs to follow a passion that seems completely alien to you, alien in the literal sense sometimes, right? I think that needs to be accommodated within your relationship, because I really think it's a necessary healing on the part of either you or them to just be silly, be frivolous, be a fool. The fool in reverse is that perception of the madman in the street. He's walking through the town in fancy dress. He's it's the sacred harlequin archetype, but in its fallen form. So it's like people are seeing you in the, it's not in the good Joker Harley Quinn, well, problematic good Joker Harley Quinn state. It's in the like, the bit that turns them that way, where they are the joke. And maybe part of the reason that I got Faith No More was because I'm now hearing Mike Patton singing I Started a Joke, and that may be irrelevant. I'll link the original song, because the lyrics are really popping out to me as like, this person isn't okay, and I don't know whether that's you or your partner or partners, but this seems to be referring to one person, even if you're non-monogamous. So there needs to be some kind of patience with like, yeah, this is pretty funny, but it needs to be funny as far as they find it funny and not laughing at them. And it needs to be like, from a place of understanding that actually, you know what, they've dealt with so much emotional overwhelm that it's okay to do something which to everybody in respectable circles or whatever looks a bit nuts. And frankly, if you're on this channel, we're not respectable circles. We're a bit more exciting than that. I've done respectable circles, I've climbed the ladders, and I've fucked it all off to come here and be with you. And may I say, the existence of spontaneity has not only improved my life on an emotional and social level, it's also financially stood me in good stead. Weirdly, I was talking about this with a friend earlier, how the people in our lives that went for stability from the word go are now the ones that are in kind of a pickle. So if this is your partner and you're, they've made some kind of big leap or big move and you're a bit like, oh, I don't know though, how okay is this going to leave us if you look like you're mad to everybody around us? Again, trying not to be ableist, but that's the word for the way the card presents. It's like, yeah, but maybe a little bit of madness is a good thing. Maybe madness is medicine sometimes. Maybe having or incorporating more spontaneity into a stable existence, particularly if you're very earth dominant, is going to be a positive move for both of you and for the connection. Judgment in reverse. So again, no judgment, right? And then the sun. The sun is just happiness. The sun is a great result. It's kind of coming through something to the other side and feeling sunny. I'm hearing Boney M, sunny, right? There's going to be a lot of channeled songs with this one, I think. And I think that this is like it's a state that you need to realise that both of you are going to reach. So I don't know whether you're the judger or the judged, but if it's them that's needed to be a little bit more whimsical recently, know that that's going to end well for you too. And if it's you and you've done some things that they are seeing as a bit, all right, then just know that actually in the long run, they're going to feel better for seeing you do better or for seeing you immersed in what it is that you like, right? Not to overuse the saber example, but it's a good example and clearly it was here for a reason. I'm now getting an image of like my twin smiling at me doing the saber stuff, even though probably if I told them I was doing it, they'd roll their eyes. Right? It's like, oh, that's such a Lucy move. Like, all right, girl who has no responsibilities. But it's not that. It's that my responsibilities are chosen and different. And I've done I've done proper jobs. I've done being a parent. I've done being fiscally and materially responsible in different ways, to the point where I overdid it and my health took a toll, right? I went partially blind and lost a bunch of my memories as a result of the stress. So it's not always that people operate in an artsy way that you can easily dismiss because they are deficient at normalcy. Sometimes it's a choice. And I think if that's something you need to hear from me, great. And I hope you don't feel equally judged, because I'm not judging you either. And if it's something that you already know, maybe it's something that needs to be communicated to a partner who isn't as patient with the idea that it takes all sorts, and that you can be very competent, very organised, very emperor, at the same time sometimes as being the fool. 2 of Wands. 10 of Cups reversed. This seems almost antithetical to the Sun, but I want you to think about it because you're here. You're not going to like this, but you're here, so you're going to hear it anyway because you need to. Long term, is a person with the sort of attitude that is so different from you going to be a good thing? Is it going to be your 10 of Cups? Can you see yourself travelling with this person, being public with this person, if they continue on the track that they're on? And I mean that both if you are the one being a bit frivolous right now, being a bit playful, and if you are the one seeing the way that they are and thinking, that doesn't really fit into my existing worldview. I don't think that it's that this relationship is going to break down in some way. I'm not telling you as a warning. It's more that if you're a person who's listening to a tarot reading, I would hope that you're not here for quick fortune telling, and that instead you've come, as many do, to my channel to be a bit thoughtful about the situation that you're in, and maybe have some of your thoughts reflected back to you so that you can think on them and plan for the next move in a constructive way. Under that scope, is your current paradigm something that can allow for the way that your partner's been acting? Is my question to you, and indeed the question of the reading. Final card, Empress in reverse. It's a weird thing, right? Creativity, fertility, kind of energy that's constructive in that fecund way. Again, not normalising any particular gender or lifestyle with that, but the pregnancy imagery means a lot of stuff, right? Creation of any kind. The ability to be abundantly creative or abundantly producing or even abundantly functional, right? If you need to have hyperfunctionality, is often very dependent on the need to indulge and remain flexible and remain fluid. What I'm seeing with this is a belly dancer, right? And I'm sort of getting into the, like I won't go into that because I'm not amazing at it yet, but it's this fluidity that's needed to be creative. And again, it's genderless. It's also not to do with any particular paradigm or country or anything like that. You can be a Kasha belly dancing, you can be a trad belly dancer, you can never belly dance in your life but get the fluidity thing. You can be a guy who dances in a sort of straight way, and and this will still be the thing that I'm trying to explain to you through this kind of snake-like motion. It's this bending to the will of the universe. I'm sorry if that sounds woo, but you are asking a witch. It's there needs to be flexibility, fluidity, and it's at your end. And I say that even if you are the person who is playing the fool right now, even if you started a joke, right? The final message to you is that you need to have flexibility around the way you operate with other people. And I don't mean you need to tone it down. I don't mean you need to go completely, out there with everything that you do. This isn't a need to become more introverted, more extroverted, more spontaneous, less spontaneous, more funny, more playful, less funny, less playful. It's not that simple. It's the acknowledgement that the counterpart to the Empress is the Emperor. If you're in partnership with somebody who is flowing in one way, you need to perfectly flow into the other. Your two perspectives need to intersect like a jigsaw puzzle, or like complementary opposites, right? It makes me think of how, stick with me for this metaphor. Josef Albers, a Bauhaus guy that worked a lot with colour. I hope I'm saying his name right. I'm terrible with stuff like that. He did a lot of colour experiments where he took pure colours in cards, found their exact complementaries, or, you know, the exact pastel of a certain shade as opposed to a pastel of a similar colour, like another red or whatever. Amazing kind of work looking into colour in great depth. One of the things that he did that I think I've talked about in my spectrum readings is creating vibrationary colour. And how you do that, and it's very magically potent. That may be a thing, that may be a theme somewhere, impotent. Anyway, but he took complementary opposites. So say you've got a red that is perfectly complementary to a green, and you put the cards side by side. The way that the eye detects those colours, and obviously we can only know the human eye, is that because they're sort of so close to each other in value, but they're exactly complementary in hue. Hopefully I haven't lost you if you're not an art student. They create like a border between them. This is why in type, you don't really use yellow, or you don't use stuff that's going to be the exact opposite of the background that it's on. It tends to look very 90s if you do, because people weren't really up on that sort of stuff in early web design. But yeah, so if you put these opposites together, the eye makes a third colour. Now, to me, that's the creation of a spiritual threshold. That's a doorway we've just made. How magically interesting is that? But if you're not in a magical universe, or you're not wanting to know about that, let's just say that being in the exact opposite of the other person creates a third thing. The Empress is the energy of three. It's taking what your partner gives and what you give and making a third product of it, right? It's not necessarily a child, it can just be the relationship, or it can be the way that your dynamic is interpreted by everyone around you and is gifted back to the universe because people look at you together and go, fuck, that can work. You know, it could be something you literally create together in a writing collaboration or something like that. But it's this third energy that can only happen when you're an exact complementary. If the red is too light, too dark, it's muted more than the other one, you know, the chroma is kind of different, even if the hue is exactly opposite, it won't work. It won't make that third thing. So in order to be the exact opposite, you have to be flexible about the way that you are. I think you need to look at this relationship in terms of the way that you fit in to the shape that they've made, right? To the colour that they've made. Do you need to go a little lighter to match up with their complementary? Do you need to go darker? Do you need to sort of alter your perspective on how we do things publicly so as to be more silly or to be less silly or whatever it is? And this isn't in the eyes of other people either. This is your understanding of the relationship and fine-tuning the way that you come to it, not because you want to alter their behaviour, not because you want to be accepted, but because you want to be the exact complementary to your counterpart. I hope that makes sense to you. If it doesn't, hit me up in the comments and I'll try and elaborate. If it does, please consider subscribing. Ding the dong, thank you kindly. Here all October, literally every day, but I will be here beyond that as well. If you want to book with me, shop's open from the 22nd. Please save the link in your notes app or wherever you save such things. There's also a PayPal link if you want to just buy me a coffee or anything, but no obligation. I understand that many people come to free readings because they can't afford a paid reading or indeed a tip, so that's fine too. yeah, I hope it all works out, and I hope that you are able to fit into each other in that beautiful way where it's okay that both of you are doing your own thing and living in your own mode, because actually the way that they've just moved is perfect for the way that you will move next.